How did you find out someone had a crush on you? Story 1. I was due in a couple of weeks to move away half across the country for my job, so I was hanging out with a local friend to say goodbye. That night, I admitted I would have asked her out if I wasn't moving so far away. There was a moment of silence and she responded with, "Yeah, I probably would have said yes. You're quite the catch." Later that night, we're lying on her bed watching anime. She gets up to use the bathroom, so I stretch my arms out. She comes back, sees me stretched out and says, "Ooh, an arm," and cuddles right up to me. We're dating now. Story 2. We were mutual friends, so we sat together in a few classes and occasionally texted about homework. I was looking for a friend at a Halloween party one weekend, and he offered to help me. The party's packed and he says, "I want to platonically hold hands so we don't lose each other." I knew it then and I was already interested, but he'd been so shy whenever I hinted at liking him. So I waited him out. 3 drinks later, we'd given up on finding our friend and we're sitting on the lawn when he turns to me and says, "I have a very not little crush on you. Just wanted to get that out of the way." We had a blast talking a little longer and he walked me home. The next weekend I saw him again at a party lacking breathing room and yelled in his ear, "I'm going outside. You want to come with me and not platonically hold hands so we don't lose each other?" He cracked a mile-wide smile and planted one on me. We've been together since. Story 3. She called me and asked why I had never asked her out on a date. She knew I was interested because I had told her some friends that I was and they had told her. The reason I hadn't is because her brother and I were friends before I met her. When she called, I told her I'd be thrilled to take her out, but I wanted to make sure it was cool with her brother first. He was cool with it. We've been together 18 years now. Dating a friend's sister could have turned out bad though, to be honest. Story 4. I was leaving school one day. My small group of friends were hugging and saying bye when this girl I was into, but didn't know she was into me, raised her arms up and said, "What about me?" It was the best hug I've ever had. This was in 2005. We'd been together ever since. Story 5. Had a girl keep banging my leg under the table at a Young Street Swiss chalet in the fall of '91. I just thought our group was too tight together and she needed space. Turns out I was just a clueless idiot. We've been together since April of '92, so luckily she was persistent. Story 6. I was giving him a ride home from a work function, and he jokingly brought up that our boss had mentioned the policy on coworkers dating, because we came to the event together but he thought he didn't have a chance in hell with me, so that policy didn't matter. Well, I also had a crush on him, so it mattered very much. We're married now. This is me, but I always wake up after. Story 7. A girl from one of my courses asked me if I wanted to bake cookies with her. I, a professional dumbass, was like, "Sure, I like cookies." A friend informed me that I had just agreed to a date. It was okay. The cookies were pretty good. Story 8. She left her phone number on my car windshield randomly. My wife didn't find it very amusing. Story 9. They waited until they no longer had a crush on me and then told me that they used to have a crush on me. Sometimes people just say that to cover for the fact that they still have a crush on you. Story 10. She sent me an email with explicit photos with our heads pasted on them. She had been an internet friend that I had no romantic interest in and never flirted with. She never flirted with me either, so far as I could tell. We had talked for about 3 years, almost daily, but always platonic stuff. She was quite a bit older than me, and while I never told her this, I looked at her more like a fun aunt. I got a girlfriend, and when I told my friend about it, she absolutely flipped out. Cussed me up one side and down the other. Told me I had broken her heart. On and on and on. I was stunned. I apologized and told her I'd just seen us as friends and hadn't meant to make her think it was anything more than that. That's when the photos started showing up. And creepy, "This could have been us" messages. Blocked her on everything, which was like 2 things because this was 20 years ago. Story 11. The day after she went back to France, after being here for 8 months, my coworker was like, "Well, now that she's gone, I can tell you she had a massive crush on you." Still devastated to this day, I never picked up on it. Story 12. She offered to carry my jacket to the next class when I had to stop at the bathroom. Went to the next class and it was placed in the chair next to her, and her best friend said, "Your boyfriend is here." I was young and shy, so I did nothing. I regretted it. She was amazing. I was honestly just happy being her friend. Story 13. I opened my high school yearbook from sophomore year and found a message from a friend that we should hang out together. It included her phone number. I only found it 18 years later, and I feel horrible that I didn't see it because it probably made me look like an ass and hurt her feelings. Story 14. I was weird. I asked her out and she said she was a lesbian and I was crushed, but I respected it. Found out later from a mutual friend that she was lying. Actually liked me too, and she quote said, "It wasn't in the plan for me to ask her yet." The mutual friend essentially said, "Dodge that bullet while you still have a chance." Story 15. She literally stopped me as I was passing with my friends and asked me if I remember us looking at each other at McDonald's. Story 16. She was a colleague who had heard I was leaving town. I wasn't only going to be away for 2 weeks, so she took her chance by kissing me after we bumped into each other at a nightclub. It was a rare night off work for me. It's now 16 years and 3 kids later, so it worked out well for both of us. Drunk or just really confident? Story 17. I once had a girl introduce me to her friend like this. "This is Tim. I have a huge crush on him, but he hasn't figured it out yet." I guess she'd gotten tired of waiting for me to figure it out. Story 18. When I was in 7th grade, a boy wrote me the sweetest poem. I have it saved somewhere still. I still remember the line, "I'll take you to the movies or even to the mall, even though I'm short, even though you're tall. Wherever you are, I hope you're happy and have the best woman ever." Story 19. I was pretty sure my friend's little sister had a crush on me when she started following me around like a lost puppy. Then she randomly started calling me by my first and middle name. Then she found out about my birthday from someone and started telling me our age difference. It was kind of cute, until she decided she should tell her friends that we were dating. We were not dating. I had a nice conversation with her, letting her know that her crush was flattering, but she was way too young for me, and that she needed to stop telling people that we were dating since it was not true. It could get me in a lot of trouble. In true typical teenager logic, she said that her parents wouldn't have a problem with it, and I could date her if I wanted to. Story 20. I briefly danced with a girl at a high school dance before she told me one song was enough and went to the restroom. A few weeks later, a mutual friend asked what I thought about her. I said that she was nice and cute, but she was obviously not into me based on the dance. He told me to give it another shot. I asked her out later that day and we ended up dating for about a year. Story 21. When I was about 10, this girl in my class had a crush on me. She made it obvious, but I wasn't interested at the time. After school, we never saw each other for a few years. Then at 18, she apparently still had a crush on me. We've been married 18 years now. Story 22. Woke up to her cuddling with me after a house party. She found me asleep and didn't want to risk driving, so she did the only thing she could think of. We were together for 3 years after that party. Still friends too. Story 23. I talked to her at an ice cream shop. She was working behind the counter. First time meeting her and thought she was way out of my league. Had to be the prettiest girl I've ever seen. Red hair and blue eyes. No one else was there. She was recommending different things. Got my ice cream and left. I noticed her smiling a lot to me, which I was never used to. I've never thought myself to be attractive and didn't date growing up. Came back a few days later and just decided to ask her out randomly to my friend's party. She actually gave me her number. We met up before the party at the park. Ended up getting dinner and going to the movies after. It was a very long first date, but we didn't seem to want it to end. 9 years later and we're married, and our baby just turned 1 year old. You never know till you ask. Story 24. I used to work in a call center which had those old high-walled cubicles in which you could isolate yourself if you lean forward enough and not see anything around you. One day I'm on a call and I'm super focused, leaning forward, staring at my screen. You get the picture. Now at the time I had really long hair, waist-length-ish, so I was pretty used to it getting caught and stuff. As I am chatting away, I feel as though my hair is being tugged very lightly. No biggie. It happens often, and because of the walls of my cubicle, I can't really see anything in my peripherals. After a while, the sensation grows and starts to become distracting, so I glance over my shoulder. And what do I see? My good friend and coworker, or so I thought, sniffling and kissing a lock of my hair. I was so stunned I couldn't even react. This dude was in full weeb mode. It was exactly like something you'd see in an anime. I don't know how to explain this more accurately. Long story short, he confessed during lunch break, I rejected him, and he went on another subreddit rampage for the next 6 months that I remained in the company. I still feel icky remembering this. Story 25. I had to be told due to my inability to pick up on any sign or signal whatever. I had absolutely no idea that she liked me. Way too much risk when you read it wrong. Story 26. My now husband and I were long-distance acquaintances at the time. He liked or commented in almost every social media post I had, sends me memes or a link to the song he likes, waits for about half an hour before dropping a hi every time I come online. He told me he did this so he wouldn't come off as stalkery, and unless he was super busy, never was the first to end a chat. This went on for 8 months before he finally said out loud he had a crush on me. I thought he was just being a chatty nerd like me. Story 27. We were really drunk and just talking crap when he said, "God, I had such a crush on you growing up." And I replied with, "What the hell? I had a crush on you." Nothing else came of it, but I realized that I really don't know when someone is interested. I just assume I'm seen as a friend. Story 28. Asked her out, she accepted, and then told me she had a crush on me for some time. Sometimes you just have to go for it. You lose some, you win some. Story 29. When they broke things off with their fiancé because they had feelings for me, I was horrified. Story 30. I remember in middle school getting a note in my locker that only said, "Would you like to go out?" I saw it and was very confused. Weeks later, this random guy from one of my classes came up to me and asked if I had an answer to his note. There was no name on the note. Looking back, he must have been more nervous, but I barely knew him and I just said, "No, sorry." I kind of bowed my head a little and walked away as quick as possible. Story 31. I was on a skating rink and there were a couple of girls hanging out by the benches. One of them screams to me as I roll by that the other one likes me. I didn't react to it to save the girl any more embarrassment as she was practically hiding. Story 32. My crush told her mutual friend to tell me to ask her out. I proceeded to get rejected over text when I asked her on a date. Story 33. She came to school with her whole arm scarred with my name and a love heart. Hadn't cleaned the blood so it was fairly fresh. She told me she wanted me to do the same. She was very quickly expelled after that, and I learned a valuable lesson that girls can be crazy. Story 34. Back in 10th grade, I've been finding letters in my locker for a month. There was a slit where anyone can put anything as long as it fits. One afternoon, I was really bored because it's a math class. I went to the washroom and there I found her, red-handed. She eventually found out that I knew that it was her and we've been together for 2 years now. Story 35. She made a playlist called Songs I Want Him to Rail Me To and shared it with only me. Story 36. The worst one was a guy who wouldn't take no for an answer. As far as I knew, he was straight, so I sort of assumed it was a joke the first couple times. But he asked me out several more times and I just got more confused. I wasn't really into him and I kept assuming he was going to make it into a joke with straight bros about how he got me to say yes. Then he got pissed off, saying he was going out on a limb by asking me out and I should be grateful he would even consider me like that. Dude had some internal issues to sort, I think. Dodged a bullet there. Story 37. Years ago, I had a crush on someone. We worked together. I sent him a letter anonymously in the mail, expressing my feelings for him. He came to work and told me all about the letter. In fact, he told everyone. Several months later, I got up the courage to tell him I was the author of the letter, and he asked me if he could kiss me. I was so scared but excited too. Story 38. She went on a month-long vacation with some mutual friends, and I learned from said friends when they got back that she spent the entire time missing me. Story 39. It was through a text when she got a boyfriend. I had my suspicions but didn't act on them because I knew I couldn't reciprocate the same feelings towards her. Story 40. At a party with high school friends. He, a gay friend, confessed that he liked me, a straight guy, in a truth or dare game. He had a real blush and was super nervous to say it out loud. Most friends there already knew. I didn't, so it was a total surprise. Story 41. She worked at the McDonald's near my house. She kept giving me free bacon every time I ordered a McDouble. I don't eat pork. After like the third time, I went into the store to complain. The cashier calls up the girl in the back, and she basically explains the bacon was her way of flirting with me. She was cute, so we did end up dating for a bit. Story 42. It was the first day of school and I had 2 classes with her, back to back. Both classes, she sat on the other side of the room. During the second class, the teacher mispronounced my name. She corrected it very obviously. You could tell that she also realized how on the nose it was. I felt like a champ. Story 43. It was 6th grade. She asked me out in front of all her friends on April Fool's Day. I thought it was a cruel joke, so I said no, and then purposely avoided her for the next 3 years until right before graduation in 8th grade. A mutual friend of ours told me she actually did have a crush on me, and apparently was still upset about that day. Story 44. This happened quite recently and I went on vacation to Malta, where I have some family and 2 friends that moved there from my country. I met up with both of them separately, and one basically ghosted me afterwards, even though she was the one to ask me to come to Malta for a week. The other one was busy with work, so I just stayed home for a day and my father called an old friend of his who had a daughter my age. She had nothing to do that evening and invited me to go for a coffee. Of course, I said yes. Anything is better than sitting at home doing basically nothing. She picked me up and we just went somewhere to get a coffee. So during the coffee, we had a good talk and laugh as well, and a lot of the same interests. Afterwards, I paid for the coffee even though she offered to pay because she invited me for a coffee. Understandable, but I had a great time so I wanted to pay. The next morning, she sent me a good morning text. No one I know has done that before to me, so she was the first. We sent texts back and forth and she wanted to meet up again. It was at this date and meet I noticed the way she was looking and I knew she had a crush on me. The next day we went again, but for dinner this time. And later in the evening on a bench she slowly got closer and closer. I noticed she wanted to kiss me, but the moron I am didn't react the first time. I did get to kiss her like a minute later. Then a few days later I had intercourse with her and she's my girlfriend now. Overall, my vacation was a success. Not in the way I thought it would go, but this was way better. Story 45. My wife and I had been on and off friends with this gal I've known for a while, but over the last few years we've been spending more and more time with. One of the times she came over, she and my wife were talking about something, and she told us both that she used to have a huge crush on me, like 20 years ago, and only never made it known because she was shy and inexperienced. She then went on to tell her how a few of our, back then, mutual friends also had a huge crush on me. My wife took it in stride and they're actually close friends now. Of course, my wife also told me that most of her friends back then when we first dated had huge crushes on me, including this one gal I hung out with all the time and her old best friends that went everywhere with us. I guess you never know. Story 46. The McDonald's by my house had a face-to-face ordering. I don't know why. 3 windows. Anyway, as college kids, we ate there way too much. We knew the guy who took our orders and he knew our orders. Finally, once he took a shot and dropped his number in my buddy's bag. Slowed way down on the fast food after that. Story 47. A nice heartfelt letter with a lipstick kiss and phone number on my windshield. But she was 15 and I was done with college. I really wasn't sure how to react, especially since our only interaction was me being polite in the way to the mailbox. I didn't want to crush her spirit, but it was also a crappy situation for me to be in. I remember being 15 and doing really cringy stuff, so I didn't want to make her feel bad. Next time I saw her, I told her I was sorry and that I was too old for her. She turned bright red but said she didn't know what I was talking about, never spoke to me again, which is probably for the best. I still feel bad about it, even though I don't know what I could have done differently.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this next video. The YouTube algorithm really thinks you like it.